Hey, Will, we talked to Dave earlier today, and he mentioned just stopping to chat with you on the field there for a couple minutes. What was it like catching up with him, and what'd you guys talk about if you're willing to share it?
No, yeah, it was good to see him. I mean, with Coach, every time we see each other, it's just catch up a little bit. How's the family doing? Talk about our seasons a little bit, and he was just we're kind of talking about the ballpark a little bit, and just kind of about how their season went in the tournament and those type of things. So both watched each other's games a little bit this year, and just congratulated and just good to catch up. Good to see him.
Evan.
Hey, Will, I guess first of all, how much thought went into deciding to start Cade on Friday, or was there much dialogue in that?
Yeah, our first initial thought was keep it the same. The most important game is the one right in front of you. That's the way we've played it all year long. And we've done that even in some of the pod matchups where maybe there was another matchup that could be played or something like that. We just, we feel like the most important game is the one that's in front of us. Keep these guys on normal rest. There was a bit of discussion just to make sure that we were dotting all our I's and crossing all our T's. But really, at the end of the day, we were all very convicted in the fact that we needed to keep Povich on Friday.
I was going to ask you too. There are teams in your regional and kind of around the country this weekend that maybe have had to make roster adjustments because of what happened in conference tournaments last week. From your guys' perspective, I guess how healthy is everybody? How rested is everybody heading into this thing to do what you guys want to do?
Yeah, I mean, everybody that you've seen that has played or been impactful on our team this year is available to play. So no issues that way. And one silver lining, maybe playing less games this year. We haven't had midweek games. We didn't have a conference tournament. We've had a chance to hit the reset button each and every week after some weekends where, it does become a grind when you play 44 conference games where they all matter. And we've been able to hit the reset button each week and keep the guys fresh and keep them off their feet a little bit. And I don't see anybody with any signs of slowing down, and everybody that's played and been impactful will be ready to rock.
All right, let me know if you've got more questions in the chat. Michael, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Will, you kind of mentioned the pod setup that you guys had to deal with this year. Does that experience, I guess, maybe help you once you get into the regional setting with maybe having to use guys in different roles than you would normally?
It could potentially. I think probably more than anything, it's just the knowing that you have scheduled doubleheaders as well at times where we've had some of the 4-game weekends, even in the non-pod settings, where you've got to use more pitchers. You've got to kind of manage yourself a little bit differently on the mound because of that. And maybe some guys get thrust into some situations that you wouldn't normally do so, good or bad. You've seen some of the good and the bad with that in those 4-game weekends. So I think it probably does nothing but help you. It probably honestly is counteracted by the fact that we didn't have midweek games. So, but in a confined number of games in a 3-day stretch, I would say that we probably will be able to lean on that a little bit just from having played more doubleheaders this year than we ever have before and played more games in a short amount of time than we have ever before.
One quick follow-up, I guess. With the pitching discussion, is this a weekend where maybe you look at Spencer in a bunch of different roles, maybe if things kind of call for it?
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, he's been one of our best pitchers. So we need to maximize his innings over the course of the weekend. And whatever that scenario presents itself, he's ready for it. He's extended out. I mean, he's thrown 70 pitches in an outing before. He's thrown 6 pitches in an outing before. He's bounced back and thrown multiple days in a row. He's not going to hold anything back at this point, and obviously short of anything that would put his health in jeopardy, he's going to be ready to pitch in a variety of different situations, whatever might arise.
Kevin?
Hey, Will, what's the mentality of your team, now that you guys down there in Fayetteville and you're a day away from opening up the tournament? How would you describe your team's attitude, and what's the level of excitement?
Our team's attitude is identical to what it's been and dating back into January when we first started practicing to prepare for this season with all of us together. I mean, today's practice was exactly the same as it's been every time. I mean, the guys were ready to go. They used it as an opportunity to get better, to learn a little bit about the field, to take game speed reps. It was loose. The guys were flying around. They were having fun. It's just what this group is. It's what you would hope every group would be going into, no matter what game it is. And then those are the things that we've talked about all year long, is hopefully to prepare us for a weekend like this, where we go about our business the same way in an indoor practice in the Hawks indoor facility in January as we do early June, preparing for a regional.
Evan?
Well, I just wanted to follow up on Northeastern a little bit too. I mean, they've been such a prolific base stealing team this year. From what you've seen of them, what has made them that way? And then just generally speaking, what do you guys need to do defensively to limit that?
Well, keep them off first base, first of all. That's the best way to shut it down, and to get the leadoff hitter out. That's a really good way to do it. They've got speed and they're fearless. That's part of their game. They are a very, very complete team. I mean, if you look at the numbers, and obviously the wins come from that. But yeah, I mean, Povich has been pretty good at holding the runners, being left-handed, and our catchers have done a fantastic job of limiting the extra bases as well. So we're going to just continue to do what we normally do, with an idea that they're going to be aggressive, and probably just getting, if we throw them out once, they're probably going to keep coming, because that's just how they play.
And then if I could, what's I guess the scout on their starter and the challenge that he'll present?
Yeah, he's got a good arm. I mean, they have a very good rotation. Guy that was drafted out of high school. He's been very consistent, good stuff. I mean, good breaking ball, good fastball command. I mean, looks fearless, attacks his own. I mean, just all their guys look very similar that way. And there's a reason that they pitch at such a high level, is because all of their guys seem to have a similar mentality, and they all have good stuff.
Hutch?
Yeah, Will, I was wondering if you could maybe give us some insight on Povich and what's made him so effective for y'all this season.
Yeah, Povich is a guy that only about 2.5 short years ago, he threw 83 miles an hour. So he was what you call a knife fighter, a guy that he's got to go out there and compete with less than, I guess, above average stuff. And because he had to do that when he was in high school, maybe as a junior and even into his senior year, he had to really learn how to pitch and use a bunch of different pitches, keep hitters off balance. And as the time's gone along, he's continued to grow. He's probably grown about 4 inches in that time, and put on probably about 25 pounds. So naturally his velocity has gotten better. He's always been a strike thrower. He's always been a guy that's been able to keep hitters off balance. And now that the velocities come, it just makes him that much more difficult to hit. And he just does a lot of things well. He gets ahead. He can put you away with multiple pitches. He fills his position, holds runners well. He does a lot of things that winning pitchers do.
And then the last thing I've got, Coach, is I think y'all were 7-8 last year when the season got shut down. Before the season, you weren't among the top 6 preseason picks in the Big Ten. What's been the key to y'all's success and getting things turned around there?
We're a lot better on the mound. That really, we had a good lineup last year. We actually played pretty similar defense, although this team is much more athletic defensively than last year's team was, but we're better on the mound. I mean, that's really, that's as simple as it gets. We weren't good enough on the mound last year. We had probably 10 games that we had a lead midway through the game and just couldn't finish it off. And this year we have better pitching, and Coach Christie's done an amazing job with our staff. Our bullpen's better. Our starting pitching's better. That's been the biggest difference.
Bob?
Hey, Will, how you doing? I cover Arkansas here for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I know you're focused on Northeastern, but I wanted to ask you, Dave said you guys interact during the year, and Arkansas went 28-6 against teams in the field, which is kind of mind-boggling. Just wondering kind of what you thought about the season they put together. Are they kind of the King Kong of this thing right now, do you think?
Well, Coach Van Horn is a very, very good coach. He has a very, very good staff that works for him. They've recruited a lot of really good players, and they play hard. So you put those things together, you're going to win a lot of games, and they've done it in the best conference. and you just look at the numbers as far as hosts and those type of things. I mean, the SEC was the best league in the country this year, and what Arkansas was able to do start to finish was pretty amazing. When they've won the amount of series that they've won the tournament, they won the league. He's got it rolling, and that's what you got to do. You got to have good players, you got to have good coaches, and you got to play hard, and you end up getting a lot of breaks when you do that. You make your own breaks when you do that, and Arkansas is a really good team, and Coach Van Horn is he's one of the best in the business.
Yeah, thanks.
Jason?
Coach, I wonder, the player-coach bond's one of the strongest ones out there, and I wonder when you reflect on what that was like, can you kind of take us back into what that was like when you were playing, and then how much you really cherish those moments that you had as you guys were doing big things under Coach Van Horn?
Yeah, I mean, we go back. I was probably 16 years old when he first started recruiting me. First started watching me play when he was at Northwestern State, and I just kind of had an instant attraction to the way he talked, the way he, I guess, coached the game. I just felt like he was a guy that seemed to just exude confidence and leadership, and just he knows the game of baseball, and so. When he recruited me in Northwestern State, that was something I told him I wanted to play in the Big 12. I was, from Houston. I said, hey, look, I want to play in the Big 12. So when he gets the job in Nebraska, it was almost a no-brainer for me. I loved the staff that he had, and I loved everything he had to say. And so, going to Nebraska and playing for him, he had all these grand plans to have a chance to go to the College World Series and go to Omaha, and he was able to provide all those experiences for us. And so, there was a point in time, I think my senior year, when we clinched to go to Omaha at home for the second year in a row. We're both kind of the last ones there in the ballpark. And I just kind of look at him like, we did it again, didn't we? And he's like, yeah, we did. He goes, we got a lot more games to play. And you just never know when that last game might be. And so he was a great coach. I love playing for him because he demanded a lot, and we won a lot. I mean, he told us that. I think he was maybe a little more feisty back in the day. He may have mellowed a little bit now. I don't know, but he's still a fantastic teacher of the game and recruiter and motivator.
Coaches take things from different people. What are one or two things that you've taken from Coach Van Horn when you played for him that you've kind of implemented with you in Nebraska?
Yeah. I would say the recruiting piece of it for sure, just how aggressive and just how important he made that known pretty quickly when I started getting into coaching, was that you're only going to be as good as the players that you recruit. I think he still understands that fully. So that part of it. And then just the brand of baseball, the style of baseball, just as far as, I'm not talking about an offensive philosophy necessarily, but just the day-to-day show up, work hard, play hard, compete hard type of mindset. Like I said, that's what drew me to him in the first place, to want to play for him. And that's the type of player I was. And I saw that worked for us. And that's what, some of the things that I try to implement with our players.
A lot's been made of you guys being, here in Fayetteville and, thinking that, you guys should have been somewhere else. I mean, how have you guys kind of handled everything since Monday and just the opportunity that you do have here in Fayetteville this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know that any of our guys felt anything other than, hey, we got a chance to go play in a regional in a great environment against a really good team on Friday. And, I think our guys all were ready to embrace it. There's been a lot of things thrown at us this year that, we've all had to deal with a lot of different stuff with the COVID protocols this year and that type of thing. But just in general, at Nebraska, with the schedule coming out 2 weeks before the season started, finding out that it was going to be conference only, no conference tournament, no midweek games, those type of things. We've just kind of rolled with it, and we've kind of let it roll right off our shoulders. And we knew the only way that we had a guarantee to play in the postseason was to win the league. And our guys have been on a mission all year long to do that. And now that we're here, we're ready to keep going.